Welcome to a bigger bite, courtesy of Bitesize Breakdown. I'm one of your hosts, Shak. I'm here with Nick and Adriano. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Doing pretty great.
Anyway, today we are here on a spoiler discussion for the new indie horror movie Backrooms, directed by Kane Parsons, based on his YouTube short, which in turn is based on a fucking 4chan creepypasta, which that's a crazy route right there. Starring Renate Reinsve and Chiwetel Ejiofor, basically about this mysterious room in a furniture store that Chiwetel Ejiofor uncovers that is just rooms upon rooms upon rooms, and weird shit just keeps coming out of it. Or weird, they keep finding weird shit, and more shit, more shit goes. I don't know how to way to put it.
It's weird.
Weird shit happens. Weird shit happens, and it's kind of unexplainable. It's like the copy pasta, the creepy pasta in itself. That is just a really fucking bizarre story that kind of occurs out of nothing. Really, it's really the fear of like liminal spaces, and I like had the awareness of that. Like that was all I really knew about this. And like I didn't watch the YouTube shorts that Kane made. Keep in mind, he made those when he was 16, and now he's 20 and directing this full scale feature film. What were you guys's? I'll start with Nick. Do you have any awareness of like the Backrooms creepypasta or anything that kind of spun off from it?
I have like a basic understanding of just the popular creepypastas in general. I knew a little bit about Backrooms, mainly just that it was this kind of void that you got stuck into, and I didn't really know much more beyond that. So I went in fairly blind.
Adrian, I'm assuming the same thing. I mean, I feel like you're more online. I feel like you would know.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I think like when it like first started, my buddy was like, "Hey, this is interesting concept of Backrooms." To go, "Oh, interesting. What is that?" And he goes like, "It's a 4chan post," and I just effectively ignored it for the rest of my life. But
Fair.
like, I know of it, but I have no like. If you're asking what my relationship to like the lore or whatever the hell you want to call it, the answer is none.
Okay, that's fair. And so yeah, yes, essentially again, a one post on just the idea of getting stuck in this like dingy office looking building with like a faint like the fluorescent lights like the buzz, and it's just every room is just progressively shit gets weirder and weirder and weirder. So just right to turn this into like a mainstream feature film was odd, but
Mainstream.
yeah, mainstream quote unquote, like A24 picked it up, which is like indie mainstream at this point. Uh, but honestly, I came out of it with knowing nothing. I came out of it like, you know what? Conceptually, like a pretty unique idea, and I came out of it like, you know what? I enjoyed quite a bit of that. It took a while. Like I literally had to sleep on it, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. What's the first reactions from you guys?
I think for me, like I said this after our screening, was I did not feel equipped to write about it right away. Like it was the kind of movie that needed to kind of land with me and settle a little bit. And there are things I really like about it. I do think it's an above average horror movie, but there are some things that didn't quite work for me. But that said, I'm interested in where it goes from here. I think that there is a lot you can do with this concept, and that's probably the most lasting impression the film left on me, was the potential for what else you can do with the back rooms.
Mm-hmm. Adriana, what are you saying?
I I just kind of remember walking out of it being like, I just do not know how to feel, and that's not any strong direction. You know what I mean? I don't strongly feel. I didn't feel, and I still don't. I didn't feel strongly negative or strongly positive. There are elements I felt strongly positive about, like the direction, like the when the movie leaned into atmospheric like horror. It was probably the best part, like the camcorder sequences. I think it was the back half that kind of floundered it for me. I think once it didn't give anything away, but once it kind of implied like something a little more concrete, like there's like a little puppeteer. I don't know. Some of the intrigue started to get lost on me, and it's kind of like my comparison was. It's kind of like if you were to, it's kind of like when people watch like a David Lynch movie and they try to like put a concrete explanation behind it, and it just kind of gets worse when you try to do that. The difference is Lynch isn't isn't designing a movie with concrete explanation. You're meant to feel it.
But
whereas this movie, like I don't know. I think it's again, it's not giving us concrete, but it's definitely implying something very secure and very grounded in logic. And that's when it started to lose me. Yeah, I think the intrigue of the Backrooms is that it's kind of nothing.
Mm-hmm. Like I will say, like the only part I'll push back on, just for me, is like I don't think that they really gave any. Like I know you said like they didn't they inferred a concrete explanation, but I don't. That's one of those things I didn't particularly feel. And I know we're kind of jumping ahead, so I kind of want to like let's go back to the beginning. Let's go to like the first act, the opening scene. First off, that opening scene creepy as shit.
Yeah,
but that's like you're mentioning the found footage segments. That's the part where they kind of lead into the found footage aesthetic, because that's what Kane was doing in his shorts, in his YouTube shorts, and those are, to me, easily the most effective parts of the movie. The opening one creeped me the fuck out. Yeah, what was like the initial gut reaction for you guys, at least for that like opening sequence?
So I think that opening sequence is great, but I also think it hurts the rest of the film because it supplies a level of tension that it doesn't reach again throughout the rest of the film. Like when I was watching that, it was very like anxiety driven. I was kind of on the edge of my seat figuring out what was going on. I'm not a huge found footage fan too, so the fact that they were able to do that with that format and make it as intriguing and as not cheap feeling, I thought was really good. But the issue I had, and it's actually where I don't align with what Adriano said, is I found it got too atmospheric and it became, like you said, I didn't really get a lot of fleshed out story. So the basic thing, I'm a big fan of the series Channel Zero, which is a series that adapts creepypastas across season. And the thing that made that show work and made this film struggle, in my opinion, is they understood that when you were adapting these stories to a feature film or a series format, you need to build on it. You can't just give the creepypasta as what it is. You need to flesh it out and make it a full story. And I think that that's what they failed to do in the Backrooms movie, which is it relied too heavily on what came before without realizing that because this is being adapted into a film, you need to give it kind of a more fulfilled sense, kind of more answers, more beginning and end. It doesn't work in the same way as these creepypasta style stories do when you adapt it. You need to give it a little bit more, and I just didn't find it gave me enough.
That's I can see that. At least for me, I'll say this in terms of the opening act, I did enjoy, actually not even just the opening act, but just in general, the performances like between the two leads, between Renate and Chiwetel. I thought they were great. They were almost overqualified for the material. And so like Chiwetel added like, I'd say like the middle section and even like the third act, even when I wasn't crazy about the third act, I'm like, he is giving his all to this.
I was gonna say, like, there's a shift in that character that happens that I'm like, this is very not earned, but he's selling it very well.
Exactly. Even just like their first interaction, like the therapy scene, I was like, this is really effective. Like to establish what these characters are, essentially just like broken people, even if it's just like a mock thing. And obviously Renate is the therapist, so she has to like have the image of having her shit together. I thought the two of them, I thought they were great, especially at that early going. My issue with Renate's character, which I forget the characters, but we get flashbacks to a little bit of her upbringing with like her mother and like her trauma with like her mother being like a paranoid schizophrenic. And even though it had one very good jump scare that pissed me off because I'm like, that was good. But like those sequences, because they're so sparse and they don't feel like they lean too much into it, that's the part that I will say that got lost to me, where I'm like, you could like not stretch, like this could have been like slightly cut or even just done better.
Yeah, I kind of was wondering what it was doing in the movie. Like, like I don't mind learning about a character's backstory, but it was implying that it was going to build to something, and maybe it's more sequel fodder, which is what a lot of this movie is. But like, I don't know. I just when the movie ended, I was just like, oh, okay.
It's like if this had been in connection, like honestly, if this is all like Chiwetel's whole shit, I think it would have actually just worked a lot better because it shows his like deteriorating state.
Right, but then the POV shifts, and the movie wants us to stick on her.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't really result in that.
Also, I will say that like there was a fascinating conversation that I had with another critic of ours, like after the screening, and just like on just the idea of the Backrooms and how Chiwetel's character is Clark, by the way. How he talks about like just the more it remembers, the less it does. Like it's trying to describe a thing that it barely remembers or acknowledges, and I had to go like this is just this idea in general about pseudo nostalgia and how memory kind of warps the longer you think, like the longer it is. And it even goes to my fascination with just Kane as a director, especially with this movie taking place in 1990. And Kane clearly has like an affinity for like this era of like DV technology, especially with like the cheap like found footage cameras. So it's like a nostalgia for a time that he wasn't in. And so I've always found that kind of fascinating in a way. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever picked up on that at all. Just like the idea of like pseudo nostalgia.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from there. I think there's also a not quiet opinion on AI.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that it, like you said, it's a blend of like a time from before and then adapting kind of an AI style story without using AI, which is a unique a way to go about it, especially when we're kind of inundated with all this people talking about AI and AI having little moments in films, and the idea of AI being something prominent in films and horror and sci-fi and all that kind of stuff. Kind of using the Backrooms and the misremembering as a way to explore the potential faults of AI, I think was really clever without blatantly being like this movie is about AI. I think it was pretty good that they that Kane approached it in that way. I thought that was very interesting.
I feel like you want to disagree.
I don't know if I disagree. Again, the movie's still kind of like, I don't want to say confusing me, but still like kind of wrapping around my head about like what it's trying, because it implies a lot of themes. Like I definitely caught the AI thing.
I will say, going back to something you said earlier, that like a sequel fodder. But I think I'd seen a couple interviews where Kane had talked about like this almost like semi a supplement to like the stuff he was making before. So like the company, it's like that, like the big science company or whatever that's trying to investigate this thing. Which again, we can go full spoilers by the way, so we can like talk about the shit.
Yeah.
But just async or whatever. I was like, that's all right, cool. Like that's a unique thing. But apparently that's a thing that's in all of the YouTube videos, which again I haven't seen yet. But like apparently, so like I feel like if we had seen it with the regular crowd, people like with the kids who had known about this shit, that would be like their Super Mario guys. He's like, oh, look at the screen, like it's async. Yeah, whatever.
My philosophy. I'm for the record, I'm not accusing Kane Parsons of doing this. I actually respect how that he steered away from fan service for the most part, and actually was interested in this idea. But I will say, and it's a philosophy of mine. I started with like the Wicked movies as well. If you have to be a fan of the source material to enjoy the adaptation, it's a failed adaptation.
But because it doesn't rely on it, I don't think it's that big of a
right. With that in mind, I again, it's a weird movie that I just don't have this strong guttural feeling for. But I do have an incredible amount of respect, and even disregarding Kane Parsons' age, because I'm not that far apart from him in age anyway. So like,
yeah,
but like, oh, this kid, I'm like, I'm his age. But like, no, there's something very commendable about this movie that there, like, I don't think it's gonna have a very good second weekend pull. To be honest, I know someone who saw it yesterday and they hated it, like absolutely despised it. But I think he made this maybe not even caring about if it made money or anything like that. He made it. He just wanted to do it.
I think he just wanted to get his vision across.
Yeah, he very much clearly. Again, I haven't seen a single one of the shorts, but this is a clear prodigy who just wants to tell the story of the Backrooms. He just finds it interesting, and it is an interesting concept, and it leans into it. If anything, my problem is some of the execution, not him, and that's. I'll take it. That's something like I'll take it. And I have. I'm gonna rewatch it. I kind of have to, clearly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird movie that with me.
Yeah, and I will say, one of the things I really want to commend him on is also just obviously not just him, but like his crew, but like the production design, the Backrooms themselves.
Part of the show.
This is someone had made this point on Twitter that I'm like, you know what, I actually do agree. Where like this is the first time I watched a horror movie, and I was like, I kind of want to explore more of this place. Like, even though there's clear warning signs, don't stay in here for too long. I kept wanting them to explore more room to see how the place shifts, because this is like some MC Escher type shit, where
this like a universal horror maze,
like genuinely, I was just so fascinated by just every single room. I'm like, I want to see what this one looks like. How, like, even there's a scene where Chiwetel in one of the rooms, he goes into like one of those like almost like a Looney Tunes type thing where like the door is like microscopic, but he has to like crawl up and he's still able to go through. I'm like, that's some cool optical illusion shit. I love that. They made like, apparently they built like 30,000 square feet of something like that, which is insane to me. So I mean, there's so much more that they probably didn't actually like, or even put in like the cut, or at least this version of the film. Yeah, but there's something they could probably, if they were to do like the second Backrooms movie, they could just reuse some of those and just do something different. Fucking the scene in particular when Clark comes back with his employees and they go down that slope, that put a fucking shiver in my spine. I was like, nope. One
of the freakiest parts of the movie.
The fucking Christmas room.
Yeah, that was actually like some of the best. That was probably the best like visual choice of the whole movie.
When you start seeing like the Backrooms attempts to replicate people who have been in that room is fucking fantastic. How'd you guys feel about just? I'm trying to think. How do you guys just feel in general about like the middle section? Like when it started getting when shit finally started happening, were you guys also creeped out or not? Like,
I thought it worked. I thought that was part of my favorite parts of the movie. It was like when they got back to the camcorder section. Not saying the whole movie had to be this, but like that level of unease was probably even the part when he was first exploring. I was like, this unknown, this mystery, there's something so just unsettling and off here. I do think horror works best when you know nothing. And yeah, those parts were, I thought, very effective. Like top tier horror, maybe not, but like it was very, very good stuff. Like I was really into the way that he used this seemingly innocuous space to, create so much so much really off here.
Yeah. Actually, my next question to you guys is really about the thing that lives in the Backrooms, like the creature, where they don't even show you like a hint of it for a good chunk of the movie, and then when it finally reveals in the third act, it's like a warped version of Clark, where it's him in his Captain Clark gear. And to me, as much as it wasn't crazy about the reveal itself, I did like the idea that like it really could have been based on the monster changes based on whoever the fuck is in there. So obviously because it's them and and it's kind of situated next to the fucking furniture store, that it's gonna like take shape of that because that's the most familiar thing. But if it were, say, in a completely different setting, it could be a completely different design of monster. So I thought that was interesting, even if the actual design itself was kind of like whatever.
I kind of laughed when I saw it.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you've been quiet a little bit. How you been feeling about the monster design itself and any other thing?
I don't fault. I mean, the monster design looked like wrong, which fit with the aesthetic of everything else. It's like the guy with the 3 sets of eyes. Like it fit for the world that Parsons was creating. So I think in that sense it worked for me. Going back to your previous question, I actually found it hit a bit of a lull in that first hour where I was
Okay.
kind of waiting for it to pick up a little bit. And I think shout out to Lakita Maxwell, big Shrinking fan. I think that kind of took a little bit of time with what he was doing with the video camera. And once he was finding it out, it felt like it dragged a little bit until we kind of got down into the back rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think even before the monsters, I found it really interesting when he went up to the standee and you could hear the recordings of people talking, which with no explanation at that point in the film. I thought that really added a good level of mystery. And it was the build to the reveal of the monster, I think, was where they succeeded the best. And when they revealed it, it wasn't that I had any issue with the monster in general, but it did kind of feel like they didn't quite know where to go from there.
Yeah, that I'll agree for sure. Yeah, that third, like, as much as I enjoyed the movie and I loved it. Like, honestly, I was surprised at how patient this movie was for the most part. But yeah, the third act, obviously, we need to show something, and the chase itself, I wasn't particularly crazy about. Again, I like the design of the rooms. I love the massive fucking skyscraper ass room that they went into. But
I think that kind of loses its draw a little bit, because instead of like running around these mazes, like, whoa, what's going on? It's to focus on this run away from the monster.
yeah,
Which, I mean, I get it, but it's, I don't know. I think that's kind of why it started to just lose me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then even just going slightly backwards again, but just going to the final big speech with Chiwetel in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as dinner scene is. I don't know why I was expecting the other creatures to be made of foam, but him going hey, you can eat these guys. I'm like, yo, whoa, that's a lot right there.
What happened?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it was clearly a lot of time had passed in between the incident with the coworkers and when, God, what is Renate's character named? Oh, Dr. Mary. But when she went in there, obviously it'd been probably weeks or months or something like that. But yeah, just I don't know. I wish that scene felt like a sudden jump. Even for a movie as patient, and honestly, this movie does run longer than it needs to. It's almost 2 hours. Yeah, that it felt too rapid of a jump for that to happen. Or maybe it's just because we don't know them enough as characters for the evolution to really feel, that natural.
Well, that's kind of where my Channel Zero comparison came into play. That it was, that should have been fleshed out a little bit better. The first season of Channel Zero, not to keep bringing it up, but it is the only other notable thing that's been created from a creepypasta.
Hey, you forgot about the Slender Man movie.
Nick said, the only thing created from the creepypasta.
The only notable thing. But the Candle Cove is the first season, the story of Candle Cove, which is a creepypasta. And if you've read that creepypasta, there's not enough bones there to tell a full story. And the creators understood that you needed to build on it. Where this, afterwards, I went back and I started looking into some of the backroom lore, and it didn't feel like much was added for the idea that this was going to be a feature film. Mm-hmm. Instead, it was just we're going to adapt what we have. And it ends up in, like you said, moments where it's the big scene with Chiwetel feels very rushed and kind of not necessarily out of character, but just a different, a swerve of the character. Mm-hmm. So I think moments like that where it was almost it's funny because it's coming from a YouTuber, it was almost like you were watching jump cuts, that it was just without the thread from this story to the next, and instead it was just going scene by scene by scene by scene.
I will say that one last question that I want to bring up. Were either of you thrown the fuck off when Mark Duplass showed up on screen?
Extremely.
Not knowing he was in it, but when because the first time you see him is him watching security footage. And I said, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Right.
Here?
Yeah. That's fine.
And like, I like Mark Duplass a lot as an actor, but like, he was one where I'm like, oh, I'm not even with obviously the fucking Oscar nominees of Renate and Chiwetel. I was still like, I still saw them as their characters enough. But with him, it was like, it took me out. I'm like, the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, Mark, like Renate and Chiwetel are like world class actors, like are two of the best we have.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Duplass is, you know, with all due respect, another one. I don't think he can quite has that, but at the same time, he's in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
so like,
but it was just a flash of him showing up.
Yeah, the first time I saw, I was like, what?
I knew he was going to be in the film, and I liked him showing up. I liked that was the one thing where they did a thread. I know we all went to the screening together, but Adriano, you stepped out, and I think you missed the scene where they cut to him having dinner with his family, and he sees the pirate commercial on the TV, which was a really interesting thread that they threw in there.
Okay, I will see this again for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I liked him. I think he fits that kind of weaselly role very well. I actually liked his fit more than I liked Renate. I like Renate a lot as an actor, but this is probably my least favorite Renate role.
I mean, when you compare it to like sentimental value or the worst person in the world, it's like, yeah,
like she's one of the best actors in the world.
Exactly, it's not gonna be up there. But I get what you're saying, because I like, even once the initial shock got over Mark Duplass being there, I was like, you know what? I'm interested in where this character goes. Like, say, again, if they make a sequel, I'm very curious to see where that whole storyline goes. I didn't think that the monster would be fucking dispatched with gas and shit all them gas canisters, which really just look like fire extinguishers going off, like, actually. But yeah, where do you guys see this going in a second movie, if that was the case? Because I saw someone make the joke that like Mark Duplass is Nick Fury, like you had to bring it to the Backrooms initiative.
It's kind of like what I said earlier. It's implying that they're going to like get to the bottom of it, which in my eyes makes the concept less interesting. That's what they're implying. Again, like, I could be wrong. I could be like way off. Maybe there's a bigger planet that Kane Parsons says he seems to really be interested in this guy. Clearly, he devoted a good chunk of his life to this,
at least 4 years.
To this folklore, like even before this movie, but you know, I don't know. I think the biggest crime this movie committed is that it just didn't really do anything to get me excited for the sequel. If one were to exist, which, based on the fact that it's already quintupled its budget, we're probably getting it.
Mm-hmm. I think Kane Parsons did a really good job directing this. I would be okay. I would be okay if he stopped doing these. Not that they stopped making them, but I think you could have it live in a universe of like the Cloverfield universe, where they have these films that take place in this world but aren't really connected in any way. They're just different stories within the Backrooms from different viewpoints of different directors. I think that's something I would be interested in seeing them go forward with.
Honestly, we'll just kind of use that as like a gateway to just put that into your final thoughts. So what do you think of the movie overall?
Like a lot of the horror that's come out this year, I think there have been moments I really enjoyed. And my issue is it's not a complete story that I finished and went, I love that. And I have moments like that in pretty much every horror movie that's come out this year. And when horror has kind of taken this leap as of late, it does feel like we're kind of playing in middle ground. I know I'm not as high on Obsession as everyone else, but I like the movie, and I like Hokum, and I like parts of Passenger, and but I'm not getting that horror movie that's like hitting for me in the same way. And I think that this kind of feels like a lot of the other things that we've gotten this year. And like we've said with a lot of the YouTube director, whether it's Stuckman with Shelby Oaks, there's definite promise from the director. You can see that watching this film, that a lot of these YouTubers turn creators. And I think going into the horror world is a very good choice for them. They're all showing promise, but I don't think anyone's calling card is going to be their first film. So I'm mostly interested in where Parsons grows from this and what comes next. And I don't need it to be in the Backrooms franchise.
Mm-hmm. Adriano, final thoughts.
So what Nick is saying, you don't want Kane stuck in the back rooms, or lost in the back room, so to speak. Yeah, kind of like Nick said, I'm very excited for Kane Parsons, and as much as I'm not as into this as everyone else is, I'm so happy to see its success alongside Obsession and this what feels like a big turning point for the industry, like this past couple weeks with this and Obsession. That's so exciting. My issues with this movie are purely superficial, and I would rather that than my issues with a Mandalorian or a Michael or a Mario Galaxy. Doesn't mean the issues don't exist. I can respect a movie and still find it pretty flawed from an execution level. The stuff that works really works. Stuff that doesn't make the movie like atrocious. I don't even think I think even to call the movie bad is a little bit of a step too far on my end. It's just there. I think that's the way to put it. Like, it just hasn't had this effect on me that I think it was about to, if that makes sense. And I'm just not that amped to see it go forward as much as the concept is really intriguing. But I don't know. I have no ill will towards it. I'm not cynical towards it. Yeah, it's there. It's right down the middle for me.
Okay.
I do think in terms of promotion for this film, I mean, like, it's not like it needs it, because especially a lot of the younger generation is very inundated with this backroom story. But I do think, I'm never going to dissuade people from seeing a film, but I think releasing that opening scene as a promotional material, similar to what they did with the Curse of La Llorona movie, which wasn't a good movie, but that trailer of the one scene with the kids in the car was awesome. I think that if they did the release of that opening first-person view scene of Backrooms, I think that would really amp up the excitement for this. And I think some of its indescript promotional material, where it plays on the atmosphere and the unknowingness, is actual, even from like the bare bones poster. I think they could do a little bit more to, almost like Adriano said about Wicked, like, get the people who don't know about the Backrooms excited and interested in this movie.
Okay. I never gave my final thoughts, so I'll just do that really quickly. But I guess I'm the most positive out of the three of us on this, where obviously I think it has like the struggles of like someone making their first film. Like, again, a little bit of unnecessary fat that could have been trimmed. But when it works, I think it really does work. Like, as you mentioned before, like the found footage stuff. The found footage genre has also been something that like I just been kind of tired. This is the most like genuine, like the stuff in here is like the most genuinely scared I've been by found footage movie since like Wreck. Like, it's been a long time where like that shit actually like got under my skin and like I couldn't stop thinking about it.
And I think part of, with us talking so highly about it, part of the reason it works the way it does is because it's not that the whole film. And I think you could have easily watered down that scene if you focused way too heavily on the first person point of view scenes.
Yeah. It comes in often enough to where it doesn't overstay its welcome. I did enjoy the mix of traditional and found footage. Again, the performances, strong performances, even if the writing isn't all the way there. It's a movie I genuinely haven't stopped thinking about for a little bit, and it's really fascinating. People are gonna fucking hate it. I think it's very divisive because you talk about somebody who who hated it. One of my homies, he loved it and didn't expect to. So I'm curious on what the second weekend will be. But I think
how much of a movie guy is your friend? I'm just curious.
He's a pretty solid movie guy, actually.
Okay, but the one I was talking about is like I watch Marvel movies type.
That exactly. So I think the ones who like really will vibe with this will really vibe with it. This is just, again, another new voice in horror. I'm very excited for what Kane will do. He seems like a really good, like, from all the interviews, he's a really just intelligent dude. So I'm very excited to see what his follow up is going to be. And yeah, just we'll just kind of wrap it up from there. So if you want to find me, you can find me on all social medias at Shak Excellence, SHAK Excellence. You can find my reviews over at cgmagonline.com. Where can they find you guys if you guys go on to plug your own like socials or whatever?
I mean, you can find all our stuff here at Bitesize Breakdown. I guess you can do our individual X accounts. I'm my name, Nick Van Dinther. Adriano is your name.
You better say your shit.
I think.
I got this from here. My Twitter is Adriano Caporusso. If you don't know how to spell it, oops.
Alrighty, yeah. This has been Bitesize Breakdown. This has been a bigger bite. We'll see you guys next time.